I'm sitting in my lawyer's office on a Tuesday afternoon, and he just slid a piece of paper across the mahogany desk. My hands are shaking so bad I can barely read it. "Jennifer," he says, his voice careful and measured, "this is going to be difficult." The number on the screen makes my vision blur. $237,000. Gone. Not lost in the market, not spent on a house we agreed on together. Hidden, siphoned off into accounts I didn't know existed, in the name of someone I've never met. I look up at my lawyer. His name is Richard, and he's been handling family law for 23 years. And I ask the question I already know the answer to. How long? 3 years, he says quietly. Maybe longer. That's when it hits me. I stop shaking. The fear turns into something else entirely, something cold. Let me back up. 6 months ago, life was perfect. Or at least, that's what I told myself every morning when I woke up next to Michael in our 4-bedroom colonial in the suburbs of Portland, Oregon. We had the white picket fence, literally. We had the 2.3 kids. Our oldest was Emma, 14 and obsessed with soccer. The middle child was Jake, who just turned 11 and was already taller than me. And then there was Sophia, our surprise baby, who just turned 4 and had Michael wrapped around her tiny finger. Michael was a project manager at a mid-sized construction firm. He made good money, not ridiculous money, but solid, reliable, the kind of income that meant we could afford a nice house in the Pearl District, take a family vacation to the coast every summer, and put money away for college funds. He'd been at the same company for 8 years. His boss, Derek, was like a second father to him. They'd grab drinks on Fridays sometimes. Everything was stable. I'd stopped working when Sophia was born. Before that, I'd been a dental hygienist, making decent money myself. But Michael had pushed for me to stay home. "You deserve a break," he'd said. "I'm making enough. Let me take care of things. You focus on the kids." And I did. I focused on the kids. I drove Emma to soccer practice 3 times a week. I volunteered at Jake's school. I made sure Sophia had her vaccinations on time, that her preschool was paid for, that we had fresh groceries in the fridge. I managed the house, the schedules, the logistics of keeping 4 human beings alive and relatively happy. Michael would come home around 6. He'd kiss me on the cheek, a quick, automatic thing. He'd play with Sophia for 15 minutes while I finished dinner. We'd eat together, usually in front of the news. By 9 o'clock, he'd be in the office working on his laptop. "Just catching up on emails," he'd say. "Derek's got me on that Portland Commons project. It's keeping me busy." I believed him. Why wouldn't I? The paychecks showed up like clockwork. We had 2 cars, my Subaru, which was paid off, and his BMW, which we'd bought last year as a reward for hitting 10 years at the company, even though he'd only been there 8. He'd handled all the finances. I signed things when he asked me to. We had a joint account for household expenses, and he had his own account for business stuff. "I don't want to bore you with the details," he'd say when I asked about the bills. "You've got enough on your plate." I thought that was sweet. I thought that meant he was taking care of me. Last October, our mortgage company called. It was a Tuesday morning, around 10. I was in the kitchen, making lunch for Sophia, when my phone rang. The woman on the other end, Jennifer, coincidentally, said there was a discrepancy with our account. A payment had been missed. She needed to speak with the account holder. "My husband handles that," I said. "Can I have him call you back?" "Of course, but Mrs. Patterson, I do need to let you know that if we don't receive payment within 30 days, we'll need to move forward with formal notices." I felt the first little jolt of worry. Nothing major, just a missed payment. Michael was probably just distracted with work. I texted him. "Mortgage lady called, said we missed a payment? Can you call her back?" His response came 40 minutes later. "Handled it. Don't worry about it." And I didn't. I had a 4-year-old pulling at my sleeve asking for apple slices. I had Emma's soccer tournament that weekend. I had Jake's parent-teacher conference. Michael said he handled it, so he handled it. But something had shifted. Some small voice in the back of my head, the part of me that had worked for a living, the part of me that used to understand spreadsheets and budgets, started whispering. Just quietly at first. Questions I didn't really want to ask. Why was his BMW payment so high? Why did his business account statement come to a P.O. box instead of our house? Why hadn't I actually seen our full bank account in almost 2 years? I pushed it down. I was being paranoid. Michael was a good man. He was a good provider. That was his word, provider. He used it a lot, especially when we were discussing money. "I'm the provider," he'd say. "I work hard. You take care of the home. That's how this works." I never questioned it. But now, sitting across from Richard in his office 6 months later, I'm realizing that I should have. Richard slides a folder across the desk. "We found something else," he says, and his tone tells me this is worse than the $237,000. Inside are printouts, bank statements, credit card applications, utility bills for an address I've never heard of, an apartment lease in Michael's name and someone else's name, a woman named Linda Chen. My stomach drops. "Who is this?" I whisper, though I already know the answer the moment I ask it. "We're still investigating," Richard says carefully, "but based on the timeline and the financial patterns, she appears to be involved in the account management. There may be more to the relationship than just business." More. That's the word that breaks me. Not affair, not mistress, just more. I look at the lease date, October 2021, the same month the mortgage company called. "How much?" I ask. "The apartment costs $2,000 a month. That's been consistent for 3 years. The credit cards, approximately $4,000 to $5,000 monthly in charges. Restaurants, hotels, a jewelry store in downtown Portland." Jewelry. He bought her jewelry while I was wearing the same wedding band for 15 years, the diamond getting smaller each year from me unconsciously twisting it with my anxiety. "I need to confront him," I say. "Jennifer, I strongly advise against—" "I'm not asking for advice, Richard. I'm telling you what's going to happen." I leave his office at 4:15 on a Thursday. I drive straight to Michael's company, Derek's Construction. I've been here maybe 5 times in 8 years. The office is on the 2nd floor of a warehouse converted to mixed-use building near the industrial district. I park in a visitor spot and walk upstairs with a folder in my hand. The receptionist, a young woman with purple nails and a nose ring, barely looks up. "Is Michael available?" I ask, and she points down the hallway without asking who I am. Michael's office door is open. He's on his phone, leaning back in his chair, his feet up on the desk. He sees me, and his face goes blank. He says something into the phone and hangs up. "Hey," he says, standing up. "What are you doing here? Is everything okay with the kids?" The concern in his voice makes me want to scream. The performance is so automatic, so practiced. "Who is Linda Chen?" I ask. I watch the color drain from his face. I watch him calculate how much I know in the space of 3 seconds. "Jennifer, who is Linda Chen?" Look, this is complicated. We should talk at home, not here. We're talking right now, in front of your boss's company, where everyone can hear, so you better start explaining." A woman appears in the doorway behind me. I don't recognize her, but I can read the fear on Michael's face, and that tells me everything I need to know. "Michael?" the woman says carefully. She's Asian, maybe early 50s, wearing a business suit and holding a coffee cup. "Everything all right?" "Derek," Michael says, addressing her but looking at me. "Can we have a minute?" But I step forward and open the folder. I spread the documents on his desk. The lease, the credit card statements, the utility bill for an apartment on Riverside Drive. I point at each one methodically. "Your husband has been maintaining a second household for 3 years," I say to Derek, "spending approximately $50,000 to $60,000 a year that came from joint accounts. Money that was supposed to be for our mortgage, our kids' education, our lives." Derek's face goes very still. She looks at Michael, then back at me. "Is this true?" she asks quietly. Michael opens his mouth, closes it, nods. "Jesus Christ," Derek says. She sets down her coffee cup on his filing cabinet. "Michael, you're fired, effective immediately. I'm going to need to audit your projects and accounts. If any company funds were diverted—" "They weren't," Michael says quickly. "All the personal stuff came from my account." The account that was funded by company deposits, I say. The company that trusted you, that promoted you, that gave you a reward for 10 years of service when you'd only been here 8. Derek looks at me, really looks at me. And then she nods, like she's made a decision. I want all your keys, she says to Michael. Your laptop, your access badges. You have 1 hour to clear your desk. My lawyer will be in touch about the account discrepancies. Don't contact any of our clients or staff. Michael's face has gone the color of old newspaper. He looks at me with something like hatred. You have no idea what you've done, he says quietly. I know exactly what I've done, I say. I've stopped being invisible. I've stopped being the person you told to stay home and not worry about finances. I've stopped being the woman you lied to every single day. I turn and walk out of the office. My legs are shaking so badly, I have to grip the banister on the way down the stairs. In the parking lot, I sit in my car for 10 minutes with my hands on the steering wheel, breathing. Then I call Richard. It's done, I say. Jennifer, what did you do? I made sure he can't hide anymore. Not from me, not from his boss, not from anyone. The divorce proceeds quickly after that. Michael tries to minimize the damage, claims the affair was recent, claims Linda manipulated him. But Richard has already found the earlier accounts, the ones going back 5 years, the ones that show a pattern of deception so thorough and deliberate that the judge looks at Michael with something like disgust during the final hearing. The court awards me the house, full custody of Sophia and Jake, with Emma choosing to stay with me. That one breaks Michael in a way the financial judgment doesn't. Michael gets supervised visitation with Sophia until she's 12. He owes me $190,000 in back support and hidden asset division. He can't pay it. His new job, the one he finds at a smaller firm, pays half what he was making. Derek made sure of that, calling every major construction company in Portland and mentioning the embezzlement investigation. Nothing illegal about it, just information shared between industry professionals. 6 months after the divorce is finalized, Michael stops showing up for his supervised visits with Sophia. Then he misses a support payment. Then another. I get a call from his lawyer saying he's considering bankruptcy. I don't feel victorious. I feel tired. But I do feel something else. I feel like myself. I'm back working as a dental hygienist, part-time, which gives me flexibility with the kids. I'm the one managing the finances now, and I understand every number. I'm the one making decisions about the house, the college funds, the future. One afternoon, about a year after the divorce, I'm at the grocery store and I run into Derek. We're in the produce section, both reaching for the same bag of organic spinach. Jennifer, she says, and she smiles at me, actually smiles. How are you doing? Better, I say, and I mean it. Thank you for believing me, for acting so quickly. I should have seen it sooner, Derek says. She puts the spinach in her cart. Michael was my friend. I trusted him. But you know what I realized? I trusted him more than I trusted my own gut. My instinct was telling me something was off about those accounts for months. I just didn't want to believe it. We stand there for a moment, 2 women in the produce section of a Fred Meyer in Portland, Oregon, connected by the wreckage of lies. Can I ask you something? Derek says. What made you finally snap? What made you stop accepting his excuses? I think about this. The honest answer is complicated. It wasn't one thing. It was the accumulation of every small humiliation. Every time he said, I'm the provider, like it made him a king and me a servant. Every time he kissed me on the cheek like I was furniture. Every time he told me not to worry my pretty little head about money. But the real answer, the one that changed everything, was simpler. I stopped believing him, I say. I stopped accepting the story he told me about who I was and who he was. And once I stopped believing, I couldn't unknow the truth. Derek nods slowly. For what it's worth, she says, you're one of the strongest people I know. I don't feel strong. I feel like a woman who was asleep for 8 years and woke up furious. But maybe that's the same thing. The kids adjust. Emma gets her scholarship offer from a good state school. Jake joins the soccer team without his father's approval or encouragement. Because he wants to, not because anyone told him to. Sophia, my baby, asks about her dad less and less, and eventually just accepts that he's not part of our daily life. It breaks my heart a little, but it also protects hers. And me? I rebuild. Not the life I had before, something different, something I'm building myself, with my own hands, my own choices, my own money. The divorce is final, the house is mine, the kids are safe. Michael is someone I used to know, a man whose name I say differently now, with a period at the end instead of a question mark. I'm the provider now. I work hard. I sit home with the baby when she needs me. I sit in her school plays and her soccer games. I make the decisions. I manage the accounts. I sleep peacefully, knowing exactly where every dollar goes and why. And I never, ever accept being invisible again.